if you're scared about doing this or it's your first time, you could just send the motor to Eric Cox. Yay! You got like a month until something else breaks. All right, guys, the previous video, I know I mentioned that we were probably not going to break down a 3UZ out of an SC430. Further review, we probably should break one down because I was trying to look for an all-intensive video that showed a detailed explanation of exactly how to break down a 3UZ and rebuild it, all the torque specs, how to do it correctly. We have Eric Cox from Suncoast Automotive Specialist here. He's a Lexus trained tech of at least 15 years. He's been in the nitty-gritty doing this for a long time. Right here we have an SC430 motor out of a 2003 SC430. We have an LS430 engine here, both 4.3 liter Toyota Lexus V8s. We're going to go ahead and break down the SC430 engine and show you guys exactly how to properly rebuild this without taking apart the short block. We're going to go ahead and break down the majority of the rest. All right, here we go. We got the tools that you're going to need. Obviously you're going to need a set of sockets, your Allen, metric Allens, stuff like that. More importantly, we have a weighted 22 millimeter Matco socket. We're not endorsed. This is not a paid promotion. This is just simply what Eric and I like to use to get the crank pulley off. The reason you want to use a weighted socket, the impact is really trying to put the work in to crank 181 foot-pounds of torque. This kind of helps keep that momentum, the inertia inside the socket to kind of break that free.
It's a lifesaver. It really is. It's so you don't have to get breaker bars and chain wrenches and all kinds of stuff out. It makes it easy.
You don't have to lock up the flex plate like people normally do and then have like a buddy cranking on it. This kind of just saves a lot of time. Second thing that's really important is this 12 mil triple square extended socket right here. This is when you're inside doing head bolt work, stuff like that. It's important to have a deep one. This you can also get through Matco tools. Again, not a paid promotion. This is just the stuff that we use to get this done correctly. All right, we have a large H14 Allen key to go ahead and break the front of the, I think it's the cam seal that goes onto the VVTI rocket gear.
Yeah.
This is a 17, 12, and a 10. So these are all really important to kind of break down the inner portion once we're kind of past the valve covers, past all that stuff. This is what you need to kind of really get it done. And then, like I said, just a 6-point set to kind of really get in there and get the majority of the outside of the engine kind of broke down. Let's dive right into it. I went ahead and 3D printed this. We're going to go ahead and make this out of dual aluminum. This basically is where the shifter kind of goes in. And then we went ahead and made a plate. Shifter kind of goes in here. This bolts to the plate, and then it's chassis mounted. And then the only thing you have is a linkage that connects to the transmission, and the whole thing can work seamlessly. So slotted to where you can adjust it where it needs to be, but this will sit perfectly inside the center of your shift area. We have these FT86 FRS emulators. This right here is used to get the communication from the 3UZ ECU, coolant, tach, all that stuff. The CAN bus will then communicate with the FRS, BRZ, GT86. We recently got one of these working on a 2017 push button start, which was kind of game changers. Before we only supported the 13 to 15 model. Now we can kind of support the later model as well. So anyway, that's on the drop down menu in the full kit when you go ahead and purchase the full kit from us.
Getting everything unplugged before you actually start taking them close.
A lot of VSVs on this thing. Little vacuum solenoid valves. And those always break. Toyota connectors are just known for breaking. You almost got through the breakage issue in this echelon of engines, but they're still really brittle. Especially like the injector plugs and stuff like that get real brittle. But let's say you're doing these, you kind of want to be real gentle on these injector plugs. If you're real gentle, they sometimes don't break.
It's got to be something to do with the compound they use, but the light colored or the blue connectors never break. It's always these black. Yeah, it doesn't do with the compound.
It's just broke right here. See? These connectors just crumble in your fingers. I mean, they still physically work, but part number for the connectors is
90908
11158.
The prefix on all Toyota connectors is 90908, and then most connectors will have the suffix stamped into them or cast into them, so you can call the dealership, get it from the dealership.
We can go on Bollinger Motorsports. Again, we're not sponsored. This is not a paid promotion by any of these manufacturers that we're mentioning. It's how you get connectors. There's many aftermarket companies that sell Toyota-based connectors that are the exact same thing. These VSVs are also extremely brittle. Vacuum solenoid valves, more importantly. Typically when you're taking off vacuum hoses, you want to take off the hose off of whatever it's going to, as opposed to taking it off of the vacuum solenoid valve. Many times I went to go take off the hose off of a vacuum solenoid valve from a Toyota, and the whole link just breaks right off. So I just like to take the entire vacuum solenoid valve with the hoses attached to it, just completely off of the engine. And then I'll put the bolt right back where it goes. This is a full harness for a 3UZ FE. Not much to it. You don't really need an aftermarket harness. I know that this looks crazy and convoluted. It does have, spots to kind of tighten it down everywhere. This is good. The OEM manufacturer did a pretty decent job kind of making sure everything was shielded and protected against everything. So not a big fan of this style loom, having exposed wires, but it works. And we're not going to reinvent the wheel. The engine ECU uses mostly 3 connectors to do most all the work. These other 2 connectors are chassis based, power, ground, other CAN related stuff. We're basically going to be tapping into these connectors right here to get the engine running. We could potentially get it running on the start cart. Actually, come check this out. Little side note, who likes V12? You do. More importantly, with the harness, this is very easy. There's so many diagrams online that kind of show exactly how every single wire does what, kind of tap in. We also have a spare pedal from another LS430 we're going to use. Wire those 6 wires up, have those go directly into the harness, and we can kind of vary the throttle and stuff like that. And the automatic transmission code switch, we take both of those out. And then it's ready to go for a manual with a different car. Yeah, you can start it up and it works. It's awesome. It's good. I'm gonna tilt it.
I know we're kind of zinging through this. I've done at least 50 of these engines, so I know every bolt like the back of my hand. I would suggest buying some cheap Ziploc bags with the white strip on them so you can label them for each thing, like intake manifold bolts, coil bolts, things like that, because I've done it enough. I know where everything goes. For most people, it's going to be kind of virgin territory.
Virgin's not really too familiar, except on Epstein's Island. Maybe we saw a few of those, but who knows, I was there.
You pull your coil out and it's dripping oil. It's not a bad cylinder head. Nothing's cracked, nothing's broken. There's tube seals in here and they always go bad and fills the spark plug tubes with oil.
If this was a running motor, you'd be really surprised how this stuff can run with the intakes filled with fluid and all sorts of stuff.
Absolutely incredible engines. Something you will absolutely want to change. The knock sensor connectors will crumble as soon as you touch them, and it'll never run right because once they fall off, you have the knock sensor signal and it'll run like crap. So this, I'm going to point this out. Even if you're only doing a timing belt, doing an alternator, anything like that, this bolt right here is an extremely special bolt. It comes from the factory with Loctite on it. If it comes out while you're taking everything apart and you try to put it back in, it breaks every single time. Then you have to take the whole engine apart, remove the oil pump, everything. So I made Brett order a new bolt. Once you take this out, you have to replace it. You need to know that specific bolt right there. It's Lexus parts catalog. It's in with the oil pump bolt. So there's 6 normal bolts and this is number 7.
And that's number 3, goes right there. This is the oil pump diagram right here. 90109-08298. Just order one. I think they're like $3. Super cheap. Worth it. Now we're going to start getting into the timing portion of what we're doing. This stuff's pretty important, especially if we're getting it re-timed back.
This is vitally important if you're taking the timing belt off. So we have timing marks up here. Time marks on the crank pulley, of course. That's your timing belt mark. That's the mark where you take it apart. Right now, it's called what they call cam neutral. So there are no valves that are fully open right now. You have no pistons that are all the way at TDC. So right now, we can take this apart, and if we do happen to spin the crankshaft or something moves, nothing's going to bend. That's vitally important that you do this before the cover comes off so that you can make sure you're at the right degree.
Okay, basically, you want to take this line right here. See that line? There's a very tiny indentation right there. Very important to get this lined up correctly.
Probably done more of them than me.
Yeah.
I always said the T is for timing.
That was easy, huh?
I'll say too, if you buy a kit, buy an Eisen or a good brand kit, because this tensioner, if you buy the cheap kits, it's like a cast crap pot metal and they'll break.
Like powdered metal. It would be like powdered metal where they bake it and then it turns into a finished product and it's just garbage.
These are side specific, but they're also labeled from the factory, right and left, so you really can't mess it up. But you have to pull these off, pull the cam caps.
I mean, it literally says L for left side and R for right side. Can't mess it
laid flat on the ends. Take these out first, and then slowly loosen the end caps. On the passenger side, this crossover tube faces forward. Driver's side, the crossover tube faces backwards.
All right, this is pretty important right here. Scissor gears on 1UZs. Basically, right here, you can see the split between the helical cut gear. That is to keep tension on this gear here so that you're not hearing a lot of clacking. With helical cut gears, there's not a lot of noise. With the scissor gear, they're just trying to keep tension on the gear. Less noise prevents it from wearing out as fast. There's a lot of reasons, but we're gonna go ahead and put the bolt, a fastener, into the scissor gear to get the scissor gear to stay. And don't forget to pull those out before you finish the timing job. You can also see, like, I'm not a factory trained tech. I'm just a normal guy. How much faster this guy is, just about everything. Got that clean. Now, if you don't do the scissor gear, what happens is once you take these apart, this just breaks. It just kind of goes back. You can kind of see it already right now. It's spring loaded, and it'll kind of go out of whack, and then it won't work correctly.
You can get it back, but it involves a vise and fighting and cussing, and it's not fun. So. I'll say what's always amazed me about Toyota engines, especially these in 2Js, is the exhaust nuts never ever break. Like a 300,000 mile engine, the exhaust nuts always come off. We're like a 70,000 mile LS engine, which I like LS engines, but 5 studs will break, and then you're stuck spending 2 hours trying to get broken studs out.
Japanese really know what they're doing with the metallurgy, the science behind it, the heat cycling, everything about it is just really well thought through. We have to put the buckets in order. If you don't do that, this could get pretty nasty pretty quick. The best way to do this if you're gonna rev out a UZ is to do shimless buckets. So if 2 ZZ buckets go right in, they make like 44 or 40 different, at least 40 different bucket thicknesses. Right here, underneath here, there's a shim right there, and that shim is what jurisdicts the thickness. The reason this is a situation is because valves don't always come out of the factory the exact same. Machining something to less than 1,000 of tolerance is extremely expensive. Also, the thickness of whatever may change. That's why you need some sort of variable like a shim underneath the bucket to get everything to the perfect height. So you want the clearance between the cam lobe and the top of the bucket to be exactly within that 8 thousandths to 13 13 thousandths value. Very important to not mess up the order. When doing this, I labeled this. Not the best way to do this. So this is what we got right now.
So these goofy studded bolts go on the machine, the 2 flat machine surfaces. Pretty easy to remember.
Again, if you're scared about doing this or it's your first time, you could just send the motor to Eric Cox.
Yay!
At Suncoast Automotive Specialists, located in Sarasota, Florida, and he'll do it for you.
You don't want that to happen to you. Before you pull the water pump off, the engineers put this awesome little block drain right here to prevent exactly that issue.
The Moonlight is a janitor. So, set we haven't coated, we laser weld these. Just like that. As you can see, it hugs the block real close, super nice. Gets the angle perfect. These come in the set when you buy the full kit. And again, this is all laser welded. Look at that weld quality right there. It's crazy. Oh wow! You don't want to warp the head, so you want to do this in a specific sequence. And you definitely do not want to use an ugga doing this. Just take your time and do it right.
These are like $50 are worth every penny.
Super Scraper. This is a brand new version from China.
How's it look?
It's okay. See, this feels so much smoother. It might be actual carbide. So we'll come back onto this surface here that hasn't been touched. Look at that. Look at that. Wow. Yeah, they really did
This
a good
company,
job.
Super Scraper, they charge $5.
Not a paid promotion. It's not a paid promotion.
They only charge $5 to replace the tip, and I've had both of these for at least 6 or 7 years.
Look at this.
They probably have 500 engines on them. That one has a tiny little chip on the corner, and this one's still perfect. So if you have this apart, you have to rotate the crankshaft, timing belts on it, or you have to hold it to get the flywheel bolts off. A 6-point 36mm socket fits perfectly over this shaft. This, the keyway fits perfectly in between the grooves on the socket, and you can turn the crankshaft, hold the crankshaft, whatever you do. It's like super convenient.
All right, all we got left is pull heads off, oil pump off, oil pan off, and then we're gonna go ahead and clean the surfaces, clean the heads a little bit, and then put it back on. So we good.
So this surface, you don't want to actually scrub it with any. You don't want to hit it with any wire wheels or discs or anything like that. That'll.
Do not use a
wire wheel. The wire wheel will take aluminum off of the surface.
Because it's an MLS gasket, it has to be perfectly smooth. That's where the Super Scraper. You can also do this with a razor blade, but it will cost you a lot of razor blades to do the whole head. That's why I say with the initial shock of spending $50, $60 on this tool kind of sucks. You'd spend $25 on each engine on razor blades by the time you're not scraping everything. You can see like this, you can see the machining surfaces now since we scraped it. These kind of curved cuts. The mill puts in it at the factory. So if you can see those and you don't see any buildup of black or any gouges, you're in good shape. So this is a perfect example where it doesn't have to be perfectly clean. You see a spot like this black. The scraper's not touching it, so obviously that's in the head. And if I run my finger over it, I can't feel it. So that's essentially just a stain. Oil, something that's stuck in there and over God knows how many miles just kind of got ground into the aluminum. So that you don't want to sit there and scrape, because once you get that out, you're going to cause a high spot. Chances of it leaking is pretty high, causing head gasket issues. So anything you question, if you run your finger over it and you can't feel it, and something like this, a nice straight edge isn't touching it, don't worry about it. The gasket stuck.
Oh my god. Oh, amateur move. It's tied together with a bracket. Here, got me. It's like, oh, it's getting hung up on a dowel pin. No, wiring harness bracket. Short block.
So the seal, if you're doing just a timing belt, it's not easy to do this seal because the seal is part of, this is your VVTI actuator. So the seal slides on this way. Of course, that gear's in the way, and you can't get that gear off while it's on the cam because it hits the cam loads and does this. So we got to take the actuator off. You'll notice that's your VVTI moving. So the cam moves independently. This gear is notorious for leaking around this seal. There's a large O-ring in there. The factory doesn't make that seal separately. You have to buy it aftermarket, find somebody who's got a good one. I have a company that makes them for me. They're Viton. one, 10 bucks a piece. Gear is slotted, all these slots. And what happens if I take this apart without marking it, I can get the angle wrong, and we can have VVTI codes once we get it running again. That's some drivability issues. So I take a disc and just put a little slot in it. What I do is, once I bolt this back together, because we have all these bolt holes, everything here is slotted, so it can go probably 3 or 4 degrees either direction, screw up your VVT angle, your variable valve timing angle. So we have to mark it to know how to put it back together. Snug these down just enough where you move it, line that slot up that you make with your angle grinder before you torque these bolts down. You gotta kind of be careful not to pull your cam out of the vise. If you don't have your vise clamped enough, or your cam's out of and you pull it out, cam hits the ground. These cams are fairly fragile. They can break. They say in 15 years I've broken 2 of them, so I've kind of figured out how to not break them.
The cap is either 19 mil or an H14. These fasteners right here are T30 Torx. And then from there, 10 mil Allen to get this out in order to separate the whole VVTI slot. And then you need a soft blow. In some cases, typically it just pops off. We're doing it just in case. I'll hold it. Just like that, the whole actuator comes off.
Put in the vise, but it doesn't have to be real tight, because you got to take these 4 Allens off to get this seal off. But those Allens are generally not real tight. They're just 5 mils. So, and the last thing you want to do is damage your VVTI gear by cramping it down in a vise tool.
That's gonna be a 5mm Allen. There it is. There it is. Okay.
So this seal, let's see, it's literally hard as a rock. I mean, it feels like a chunk of ABS plastic. Usually, it just breaks. It's supposed to be rubber.
O-ring, hard as a rock. Unlike me and Melania, she hasn't seen me hard in decades.
This gear here, this one's doweled, so you can't screw it up. That's our cam seal. If you're doing this in the car, it sucks. You have to take a lot of stuff apart. You really only need a little bit. You do not want to put seals on dry, because as soon as you crank the engine up, it'll burn the seal out. So these O-rings I use are Viton, so they'll basically last forever. They won't get hard like the factory ones. Fits perfect. Then find your groove.
All right, guys, we're gonna show the comparison between the Viton O-ring and the eBay O-rings for $5-10 bucks, whatever they are on eBay, maybe 15 bucks. But
So it doesn't fit.
see how that doesn't fit. Even when you stretch it, it's still a pain in the butt.
So what happens is when you clamp it down, it actually will sit crooked, and the edges will overlap into the flat surface. It's a mess. It's a nightmare. This one fits perfectly. Now this is where you gotta remember we made that slot in the side of the gear. So,
right.
So where it's not straight, our groove. So get it. Get it where you made your cut. It's good and straight. There are no torque specs for this, so you just kind of tighten it. They're only M6 bolts, so you're not putting 25 foot-pounds on it. The big Allen gets 60 foot-pounds.
Is that what we have left?
This is the new gasket for this cap. Vitally important. You use a new gasket. This gets torqued to 11 foot-pounds. Not 9 or 10, not 12 or 13. 11. You over-torque it, crush this gasket, mushroom it out, and it'll leak. 11 foot-pounds.
Oil pump, oil pan. We got the flex plate off. Now we can do rear main seal, front main seal. There's an O-ring behind the oil pump. If the O-ring behind the oil pump leaks, it'll create this mysterious leak. It's hard to find, but that's what it is. These stamp pans are pretty forgiving, so let's kind of walk it up. Let's see what we got. Good color. It's good color. Now this is something you could take a wire wheel to. Since this is steel, it's not going to really deform it or hurt it. So all we have left is the oil pump and the rear main seal. This is the one that always breaks when trying to put it back in, and you should get a fresh fastener, but you're going to want to take this off by hand. This one goes all the way into the block right there. Requires a deep socket.
This O-ring here, you take this whole engine apart, you don't pull the oil pump and reseal it, you're a fool, because this will leak, 100%.
The factory uses a machine to put on gray sealant, all of the different surfaces. Toyota/Lexus only sells FIPG or FIPage in black, which is used for oil, or a red, which is used for transmissions and differentials. You're gonna see us reuse black FIPG on all the oiling surfaces. This is the appropriate sealant to use on a Toyota specific engine. You have to replace this. Don't cheap out and not take off the oil pump. You have to replace this.
Don't cheap out and buy a cheap gasket set.
Buy one from
Lexus kit that has everything in it.
We're gonna FIPage the oil pump and stuff the oil pump on, and then just kind of go all the way and chase these threads. We're just trying to clean out that area in case there's any debris or coolant or anything like that. This is how you can guarantee the torque's gonna be dialed in. Okay, as we were mentioning before, the bolt for the oil pump is 9010908. We just ordered 10 of them. We have these from Toyota. That'll go right back on. Now, there was nothing wrong with this thread before we started. We're just trying to make sure that this is nice and perfect when we go to put it back in.
Inside the bolt holes, followed by a 1/4 inch line. You should be able to do the whole engine with one tooth.
Brand new. The gasket part numbers. These are obviously different. You'll see right here, it says reseal.
Basically, after cleaning, they get cylinders out with brake clean, rings, everything's dry. If the engine's gonna sit for any period of time, it's gonna get rusty if you don't oil it, so you gotta at least just get some oil on the surface.
Now we're gonna go ahead and put the heads on. Now we got all the buckets on, heads torqued down. What you do on the right side or the passenger side USDM is you put a dot or a mark going 12 o'clock and then you torque it 44 foot-pounds. You torque it 90 degrees. All of the marks should be facing forward. Essentially, the engineering principle behind that is you want the head bolt to stretch. Here.
Cams. First thing to note is this is bank 2. Even though it's bank 2, if you look on this pulley, it's got a 1 dot or 2 dot. Bank 2, you line the single dots up. Bank 1, you line the double dots up. Why they did it that way, I don't know. Now, this is arguably the most crucial point of the entire project. When you're doing this, you absolutely 100% do not use power tools. This is 27 millimeter hooks, but you can use a crest. What we have to do, make sure it spins. Start tightening the cam down. This thrust area, this bearing will bind up in the head, and then the cam will break. Most people I know that work on these have done it. For whatever reason, I don't know what they're made out of, but they do break. You will pressure on and you turn the cams, the actuator turns, it'll drop in a little farther every time. And you'll get to a point where you can actually button the caps up. You can see everything's kind of hand tight, nothing, it's just a couple of foot-pounds on each bolt, but everything moves freely. Now you can stick your scissor gear bolt. And these bolts get to work to 12 foot-pounds again. That side's essentially the same, but you line the double dots up to the single dot. This is your front cam end cap. It's right there. There's a groove here, high spot here. And then just put some FIPage around this. Not a crazy amount, again, about a 1/4 inch. Botch in there. And the CS on the top. It's important to see these lines. This one is an oil drain block. This lets oil gets in by the seal drain block. Do not fill that.
Like an O-ring liner. It's kind of cool. It's nice. You never really hear of these leaking. Many dowels. once we kind of get the water pump torque down, and then flip it over, start doing the oil pan, upper oil pan, rear, front.
Put the cam gears back on. Pretty self-explanatory, left and right, they're labeled. We're going to hold intake cam on the hex, 7 foot-pounds. Each one of these. Our lines. Yep.
Take it out?
Yep. So this one, when you put it back together, is going to be 180 out. That's why it's so vital to get this crank pulley where it's off of TDC, because you're going to have to rotate this cam 180 degrees. I'll be honest with you, I have no idea what the torque spec on this is, so. It's a big bolt. I've never seen them strip or break. So. As said before, do not forget the spacer behind here. It can cause all kinds of problems without that little spacer, and it will fall off, and it'll fall and you won't notice, and then you'll try to put it together and everything will be out of alignment, you'll be all pissed off. And again, I have no idea what the torque spec is on this, so I just tighten it.
Okay, I'm gonna hold that right there. I'm gonna hold this just so when he's doing the rest of it.
It's definitely easier with two people.
Yeah, for sure. So you want to hold this, keep tension in here, and then he's going to go ahead and put on the crank portion. Line that up with the 2 marks.
Alright, should stay. Now you'll notice with the lines on the top, little line here.
Little line right there. Goes all the way through the T to this dot right here.
So down here what you've got.
Right down here. This is kind of difficult to understand.
You have 2 lines that line up with your keyway, 2 lines that go around this lower puller bolt. If you look right here, if you can come down, there's a little dot there, you got 1 line that lines up with that. Those 3 spots line up and these 2 lines at the top line up, you know you're square.
That's how you know it's dialed in. Now you put in the tensioner. All right, now we can start the valve cover. We got to do the half moons back here. Tippage, make sure that the surface is nice and clean. We're gonna reinstall those.
You got a few tube seals.
Screws everywhere.
Done. Not damaged.
Don't forget to put them in the corners. That's where the seal, see that corner kind of sticking out right there? It doesn't necessarily perfectly get the oil kind of stuck. That's why we put sippage right there. All right, we're gonna torque these to 7 foot-pounds, 7 foot-pounds and or 84 inch-pounds.
While he's doing that, I'm putting the oil filter housing back on. This gasket always leaks on every single UZ, so if it's not leaking now, it will leak at some point, so just change it.
All right, we are literally coils back on intake on front side. We're gonna put the cover back on for the timing belt cover, and then we're done.
Just
Gasket set comes with a new grommet. Put it on.
That's another thing. Only use Denso coils. There's imitation Denso coils you can buy off eBay. Don't do that. Spend the money and get the real Denso coils. Very hard to tell what's a knockoff and what's not a knockoff, but Denso coils are from Japan. They cost a lot of money because they're good. They never break. Somebody did a study on like the knockoff versus the regulars, and it was pretty significant. So 181 foot-pounds.
181 foot-pounds.
You want about,
you want it tight. That's tight.
probably about 100.
That's plenty tight. Nice 1/4 inch line, just like everything else.
Some lubricant on it.
A little bit of silicone on there. Silicone, if you don't know, is what they call inert. So you can use silicone on gaskets and stuff. If it mixes with coolant, mixes with oil, it won't hurt anything. It won't contaminate it.
Surface is ready to go. Clean this up a little bit more. We're gonna check the screen to make sure there's nothing in the screen, and then we're gonna put it back on. And then when you go to clean these out, spray down from this angle right here, and it should push any debris. So you can tell it's getting late. I didn't drop it, I swear to God. I'm throwing it out right now. You looked at me like I was crazy.
You put your silicone on here. So this, You want your silicone to block oil. So these bolt holes, you're gonna want your silicone, your RTV to go on the inside of these holes. What's funny is when you get over here, your instinct tells you to go on this side, but there's oil coming at the bolt from this side, so you actually want to go on the outside of these holes.
Should be dowels in the back here and then the other side.
And there's really no sequence to these. You can just kind of go back and forth a little bit.
It is inside the engine. You want it to be tight, but you don't have to kill it, you know? No gunk. Fresh. Some old lady on this car, so who knows who serviced it. These are reversible if you're doing a turbo build. See how cool that is. Don't use these for turbo. You want to build a proper exit.
Tumbled on the sidewalk to like 150 feet. Holy. I jumped up, and I'm shaking my limbs looking for broken bones. Like, I'm sure I broke something.
Yeah.
Didn't break it. I've crashed so many things in so many ways, and I broke my femur when I was a kid, broke my ankle. I mean, I've had a few broken bones, but nothing crazy. But like some of the crazy wrecks I've been in and things I've done to myself and never really hurt myself. Then in my S13, I'm minding my own business, driving down State Road 70. Some lady runs a red light, hits me head on, and puts me in a hospital for 10 days.
Were you conscious?
Well, I took a 5-day nap. I had a bait fly me to Tampa General.
Jesus. Okay guys, it's been a tough, long day. We took a 3UZ from this, fully dressed, tore down, short block, fully rebuilt, resealed the entire thing the proper way to this. Could not done it without Eric Cox. So let's find out. A lot of people are asking in the comments, what's the weight difference between an F820 and a 3UZ FE? It's gonna be significant, but not crazy. We're gonna do it for you guys right now. Not too heavy. Man. You're both wrong.
How much that way?
I'm gonna say that one's $4.99.
Oh, one well-fed girlfriend's difference between these.
Can't say that's the front TV. Bullshit. 134 pound difference between 3UZ fully loaded and a fully loaded FA20. 134 pounds. I mean, a JZ is like 625, 650.
And a long, heavy engine.
Long.
So it's literally 2 cylinders longer than this.
It's probably the only place. Yeah, the only place where the K series shines is it's lightweight. It's 4-cylinder. Yeah. I mean, but this, even this will outshine a K series dollar for dollar. 300 horsepower out of the box. It's stupid reliable.
At that power, it's stupid reliable. It's never ever gonna break.
Never gonna break. 93 octane. Keep it full of oil. Good oil.